Good afternoon, SAC members and supporters. I'm very excited to be coming to you today at what, although it is a very difficult time in our city and in our nation, it's also a very exciting time of change for the DC Senior Advisory Coalition. And so thank you for joining me via this video this afternoon. I hope that it will serve as a way that we can update our members about what's happening with our organization, and for a way for us to connect with you, to let you know that we are thinking about you, that we are a community, even though we're separated by social distancing, and that we have you in mind and in our hearts. So this afternoon, we're coming to you to talk about the future of the DC Senior Advisory Coalition. And I'm happy to say that the future is bright, despite some challenges that came about with the current COVID-19 pandemic. Our organization is strong, the membership base is strong, and we hope that together we can move the organization into what we hope will be at least another 10 years of serving seniors in the district. So I want to talk to you first about the last 2 years with the DC Senior Advisory Coalition. Many of you who were part of the organization back in 2018, you took part in some strategic planning under the leadership of Sally White and Joe Williams. And they led the organization through a period of time in looking at what was most important to the organization. I'm going to sort of move my picture here and see if that is out of your way. I was recruited to come on board to serve with the Senior Advisory Coalition in August of 2018. I lead a consulting organization called 316 DC. And when I spoke with Sally and Joe, we came to an agreement where myself and my organization would work with the Advisory Coalition to help build on the strengths of what the organization had already done in terms of strategic planning. There was a vision and a mission that was laid out. There was a lot of resources and assets that the organizations use, and we wanted to be able to build on that, to be able to move SAC forward. So I came on board originally as a coordinator, and then moving into the position of executive director as we began to see the strategic plan taking shape. And these were the 4 areas that we decided together to focus on during my time with the Senior Advisory Coalition. First, we wanted to identify what SAC's core values and strategies are. Even though we had done some strategic planning, there was still some question about who we are and what we serve. We had a general sense that our mission is to serve DC seniors and improving their quality of life, but we weren't exactly sure about whether we were an organization meant more for individuals or more for service providers. And so we wanted to flush that out a little bit. We wanted to increase SAC's visibility throughout the city. And so I spent a lot of time over these 2 years doing outreach, getting out into the community, working, going and attending meetings to meet the people that we were serving. That was very important for us as an organization going forward. Thirdly, we wanted to empower our membership and increase buy-in. DC Senior Advisory Coalition, it's a coalition. It's meant to be a movement that's connected and rooted in the work of its memberships. It's not meant to be an organization that exists and operates through a hierarchy. And so we wanted to try to build on that and emphasize that point. And then lastly, we wanted to strengthen the SAC's processes. So I spent time doing some additional strategic planning with the leadership of SAC, meeting with the members of the coalition to see what value the organization added to them, and then taking a look at how we made decisions, what the role of the fiscal agent, which is currently Iona Senior Services, and what does leadership look like? We asked ourselves all those questions. And so during the period of time between 2018 and 2020, we've spent time answering these questions and building upon the strengths of the coalition to make sure that when we we get to a place where everyone was on the same page about who we are, what we're doing, how we make decisions, and where the power of our organization lies. So that brings us to where we are today. Today, we have the opportunity for growth. As you know, by now, we're like in our third or fourth month of a global, not just national, but a global pandemic. COVID-19 has changed the way that we interact with each other, the way we advocate, the way we operate. It essentially has changed every aspect of our lives. And as a coalition, the Senior Advisory Coalition has not turned a blind eye to that. We've taken some time to do some self-reflection as an organization and to ask ourselves, post-pandemic, what are the lessons learned that SAC needs to be able to move forward with? So some of the areas for growth as a result of COVID-19, we recognize that we have to be able to provide multiple ways for our members and our stakeholders to engage. During these months, we've operated in meetings virtually, more so virtually. I don't think I've attended any in-person meetings related to SAC since the middle of March. I'm bringing you this membership update via Zoom and recorded video. So going forward, even after the restrictions are lifted, we want to find ways to continue to engage people over multiple tools and vehicles. We had some of our largest participation in our SAC membership meetings when we did those meetings virtually. Next, we want to be able to engage, in mass with people. We want to be able to, we recognize that we are a citywide advocacy organization serving all 8 wards, and we want to be able to send out large messages to large groups of people, such as this one. But we also want to have a way to be in touch with individual seniors. We don't want to be so, we don't want to just communicate at a global level, but or a macro level. We really want to be able to make sure that the members who are connected to us, we have communication vehicles set up to know that our members are getting their needs met. Not just the needs that they expect to be met through the advisory coalition, but also their basic needs that they have just from the sense of being a senior here in the district. We want to build resiliency, and we want to build in adaptability into the coalition. I think pretty much every organization recognized that in order to be able to survive this pandemic, we needed to be able to make change and pivot when it's necessary. We need to be able to look at our organization and see what are those critical things that need to stay in place, but what are those things where we're flexible and adaptable. For example, we knew that we needed to continue having meetings to bring our members together to share information. But in COVID, we were able to pivot and change and adapt to having meetings online versus just ceasing to have meetings altogether. And then the last thing, we need to be able to accomplish more with less resources. The reality is that as a result of COVID-19, the Senior Advisory Coalition currently has less funding available to it than what the organization had prior to the pandemic. Now, we have faith and we believe that the organization will be able to come together and identify additional resources for it to be able to move forward. And currently, we have enough resources for it to be able to continue into the next year. But that's just a reality that I think most organizations and individuals faced during COVID. We need to be able to do more, relying on volunteers and with less resources. We're not going to be able to have all of the paid positions that we may have had in other circumstances. But in this case, I believe that that could be good for SAC, and we're going to talk about why in a minute. The other thing is we want to invite other people to help shape in SAC's future. One of the biggest lessons we've learned in these last few months through self-reflection is that we recognize that in our operations in the last year or so that we've sort of created a bottleneck, that unintentionally our processes and decision-making vehicles created a way for a small group of people to make most of the decisions and to operate the organization. What we now want to do is we want to shift that. We want to go back to operating fully as a coalition where the power and the decision-making lies within our more broad base, and that the leadership that we have really supports the work and the responsibility that the members have. So we're excited, even though none of us would have chosen to be in COVID-19 and have this experience, and it truly has been challenging. We are glad to have this opportunity to reflect on our organization and for it to grow. And so what does SAC look like going forward? Going into the new fiscal year, which, new budget cycle, which really begins in September, and the fiscal year in October, SAC's mission will remain the same. We want to be a unifying voice advocating to improve the quality of life for and with older adults in the district. That will be the same, and we're glad to move forward with that. For SAC's culture, we want to continue to be inclusive, where every member has a seat at the table and shares in both responsibility and reward. We invite everyone to our meetings who is either a senior or is providing some kind of service and value to the seniors of the district. And we invite them to have a decision in the way that we operate. One of the things that's changing slightly about our culture is that we're adding a lens of equity and anti-racism. As you know, in addition to dealing with the impact of COVID-19 in these last few months, we've also seen an increase in the global awareness and response to racism within our world. And the SAC wants to be sensitive to that, and we want to be intentionally responsive to that. And so, in addition to advocating for seniors across the district, the SAC will work to bring awareness to areas of disparity. So when we're advocating, for example, about housing, we will identify where across the wards, housing and access to housing may be inequitable. In addition to bringing awareness about disparity and racism, the SAC wants to work towards resolution. And so we will help provide guidance and recommendations around budgetary items, but also ways in which to resolve some of these inequities, which are often related to the budget. So that's the SAC's culture. What are our strategies? Our strategies are the ways that we live out our mission. And there are three things about the SAC that have always been in place for the 10 years that it's been in existence, and that we want to remain in place for the remainder of our existence. We may change some of the ways that we do these items, but at the core, you can rest assured that the SAC will provide these three things to our communities. We're going to be collecting and analyzing data related to the needs of seniors in the district. We're going to draft budget recommendations and advocate for their approval. We're also going to host meetings and our annual advocacy day. The annual advocacy day has been the signature event of the SAC, and we want to make sure that that goes forward. So let's talk about what SAC structure looks like. And this is changing slightly from where we are currently. I want to point out that the role that I served in these 2 years has been that of executive director as the senior leader of the organization. We want to shift that a little bit, and we want to shift the leadership and the visibility and responsibility from one senior leader in terms of an executive director out to a series of committee chairpersons who will lead and manage 4 committees. The committee chairs, so let's talk about what that looks like a little bit. The coordinator, which we're now going to be recruiting for, will be largely an administrative role. The coordinator is going to support the work of the 4 chairpersons. The chairpersons are the ones that are going to execute those 3 strategies we talked about. So there will be a chairperson of the Housing Committee, chairperson of Nutrition and Health, which we've chosen to combine this year, chairperson of Transportation, and the chairperson of LGBTQ Seniors Committee. You may also notice that previously we had an other supports committee in which LGBTQ was included. We've decided that this year we want to identify and focus on LGBTQ seniors specifically for a committee because the population does have such a large representation within the district. And we know that there are a number of issues and challenges and recommendations that are specific to that population. So all of our committee chairpersons will work to analyze data that we collect about seniors, formulate those budget recommendations, and give testimony. And so I want to put in a plug here. I'm going to come back to it when I talk about next. But we are looking for 4 committed people who want to serve for the DC Senior Advisory Coalition. Ideally, these committee chairs are people who have experience, at least several years experience, working directly in these issue areas or working in advocacy related to these issue areas. So if you know of someone, and these are volunteer positions, we sort of see them as similar to someone who would serve a year or 2 on a board of directors. If you know of a leader who has direct experience in housing, it doesn't have to be housing specifically for seniors. It's helpful if it is, but it doesn't have to be. If you know of that person who's looking to work on an executive leadership team and get that experience, this is a great opportunity for them because each of these 4 committee chairpersons will also serve on SAC's steering committee. That steering committee is an executive leadership team that's really going to be steering the organization into our future. They're going to be supervising the coordinator, and they're also going to be keeping their eyes on the pulse of what's happening for district seniors and determining every year if we have the right committees, for example. Is there another issue that deserves or merits having its own committee? Is there a committee that we currently have that maybe isn't necessary or could be merged with something else? That those committee chairs are also going to be working together to shape our data collection tools and talk about how we're going to be analyzing that data. So I really encourage you, we're going to be sending out job descriptions. The email that you received with this link will have those job descriptions attached to, well, we're calling them opportunity descriptions because they're volunteer positions, but certainly the value and the experience that these individuals would receive and the visibility would be a great opportunity for someone who's interested. So I wanted to put this slide here because we want to help you understand who to go to when you have needs for the Senior Advisory Coalition. For the most part, you're going to the committee chair for the issues that you need. Our coordinator is going to help support hosting those meetings, scheduling the locations, scheduling members when we do our budget hearings and things like that. So what's new? What's different? Some of those things I've pointed out already, but I want to make sure that we're all clear. Our focus is on shifting the power from 1 or 2 leaders out to all of the membership. The steering committee, as I described, is not responsible for making all of the decisions of the organization. The steering committee is simply responsible for looking at the long-term health and viability of the organization. But those committees that the steering committee is leading, that's where the members lie. Every member will belong to one or more of those committees. And it's in those committees that every member will be invited to share information about the needs of seniors in the district. And every member is going to be invited to get to help shape what those budget recommendations are, and to give testimony when budget hearings come. And so we want to make sure that we repeat that message over and over again. Our coalition is as strong as the commitment of its members. The next thing that's different is meeting frequency and focus. Many of you know that the Senior Advisory Coalition met every month, except for in the summer, on the third Thursday of the month. Now, the general membership meetings will only be every other month. On the month in between, the committees are going to be meeting separately. So there will still be a meeting every month for the Advisory Coalition, but you will alternate. One month, likely the first meeting will be in September for general membership. Everyone will meet together. In October, you will meet with whatever committee you have joined. And in those committees, that's where you will work on those strategies of the coalition. And the reason why we're doing this is we want to afford enough time for members to really surround whatever those issue areas are and have the time to really analyze data and draft effective budget recommendations. So the next thing that's going to be different is data collection. Previously, you guys know, you saw me all over the city, right? The way that we collected data was I got out to a number of senior meetings, a number of organizations and meetings with individuals, and gathered information that way. Now, because again, we're trying to do more with less resources, the Senior Advisory Coalition is going to be sending out a data collection tool. And we can really use your help on this. It's going to be an effective tool that will ask direct questions to the senior service providers about needs that your seniors have related to those different issue areas that I pointed out. Any group, not just service providers, any organization that has servicing or touching groups of seniors will receive these data collection tools. So our villages, our mini commissions, our groups that meet at recreation centers, senior exercise classes. Our coordinator is going to work very hard to get these data collection tools out during the summer months and in the month of August. That way, when we come back together every September, we have a good base of information and data to analyze and understand as we're developing the recommendations that we're going to make. And the last change that's different is the role of the fiscal agent. We're so grateful to Iona Senior Services and all that they have contributed. Going forward, we want to limit the responsibilities that the fiscal agent has related to the coalition. The fiscal agent, which will continue to be Iona at this point, will simply carry the grant of the organization. The members and the committees will make the decisions and will help shape what the budget recommendations are. And so these are just some of the changes going forward that we have. What's next, right? This is exciting. I'm excited about where we are. I'm excited about the work that we've been able to do in the last 2 years. I feel like as a consultant that I've been able to help shape and strengthen the organization as I was requested to do. And now that we're moving forward, you already know, well, maybe you don't know the exact date, but effective August 14th, I'm no longer going to be serving as a consultant for the Advisory Coalition, but the organization is going to move forward in this new, well, I should say in the strengthened way that we've described here. And so what are the next steps to make sure that happen? In these next month, we're going to be hiring a part-time coordinator. If you know of an individual who would like to serve the Senior Advisory Coalition, it's about 10 hours a week. please send them my way. Again, there will be a job announcement. This is a paid position, part-time paid position. There's going to be a job announcement attached to the email you receive with this video. We're also going to be selecting committee chairpersons. Those job announcements will be attached as well. During the month of August and September, we're going to be launching that survey tool. We're gathering information, helping shape. So if you have input about questions that can be in that survey and methods we can use to help get as many people to respond as possible, please, we'd like your support on this. And then lastly, we hope that you enjoy your summer, that even in the midst of the pandemic, that you get lots of fun and lots of rest in, and that you'll plan to join us virtually, of course, at our first general membership meeting for the upcoming year, which is going to be on Thursday, September 17th. We'll send out more information about the location of that meeting. We'll send out the Zoom link so you can join us. And we're just looking forward together for a strong organization going into the future. Even though I won't be serving as executive director of the organization anymore, I will continue to be an advocate and a consultant here in the district. And if my organization, 316 DC, can continue to support and advise the advisory coalition, of course, we'll make sure that we're available to help do that. So in closing, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the many members, the service providers, the villages, the individual seniors that welcomed us into their meetings and that joined us in meetings. I want to thank all of the seniors that come out every year for Senior Advocacy Day and make your voices heard. And I really want to thank the individuals who worked with us this year and served on the steering committee and also helped shape what the new and stronger organization will look like going forward. So Ashley Dowden, we want to say thank you. Betty Gentle Ashley Dowden is from Iona Senior Services. Betty Gentle is with So Others May Eat. Sal Savaggio is with the Ward 3 Citizens Advisory Council. George Kerr, is with Mary's House, and also George has his own organization. Melissa Jensen is with DC Hunger Solutions. Sally White is also with Iona Senior Services. And although these two individuals weren't able to continue the entire time with us for the steering committee, we also want to thank Veronica Ingram from the Ward 4 Mini Commission and Christopher Grayton from the Yellow Cab Company, because they did afford us some of their time and they were willing to try out the steering committee and help set the foundation for it going forward. Above all, I want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for allowing me and 316 DC to come in and partner with you during these 2 years to help provide strategies and insight and to help be a part of your team and making sure that your organization can be the best that it can be for at least 10 more years to come. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your summer. And I look forward to getting those resumes and recommendations from you for the organization. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.